What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today I decided to move on with my potential free agents that the Kansas City Chiefs could sign series, going over all the different positions and a handful of free agents the Chiefs could sign. And today we're going to be looking at wide receivers, which is what a lot of fans consider to be the biggest need on the Kansas City Chiefs this upcoming offseason. So once again, I have picked out 4 names that I really like, that I could see the Kansas City Chiefs signing, or that I would like to see them sign. These range from high-end guys to middle-of-the-road guys that simply raise the floor of the wide receiver room in 2024. But before we get into that list, let's just address real quick why the Chiefs need a wide receiver. And if you guys watched the Chiefs in 2023, you know why they need a wide receiver. This wide receiver room led the league in drops last year. A lot of guys that the Kansas City Chiefs were counting on did not take that step forward that the team thought they would. Kadarius Toney being a wide receiver 1 was a failure of a plan. Sky Moore was a failure of a plan. Marquez Valdes-Scantling took a massive step back. And that's just because the Chiefs tried to take a bunch of guys that were, well, just guys, and tried to put them all in a role that they did not fit in. MVS shouldn't be a wide receiver 1, but he kind of was by default to start the season. Kadarius Toney wasn't healthy enough. We knew he had health problems. Sky Moore simply wasn't ready for the role. And so you kind of had this island of misfit toys at wide receiver. And the thing is, a lot of us fans were saying before last season even started, hey, I think this team needs another wide receiver. The team didn't listen to us. They were high on their own in-house candidates, so they rolled with those guys. And look, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and that's great. And a lot of people are going to point to that fact as if it's nullification of the wide receiver problems, and that's just not the case. The Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl in spite of the receivers, not because of them. There is absolutely no question that this team will have to attack wide receiver in the offseason. They'll have to sign a free agent as well as get a guy out of this upcoming NFL draft, because you only have one guy in this wide receiver room that you know is a lock for the roster next year, and that is Rashid Rice. Rashid Rice is the only one. He's the only proven guy, and even he didn't come on until late in the season. You assume he'll take a step forward, but you're going to need a lot more than that. And we saw how irresponsible it was for this team to put the load of the offense on Travis Kelce at 34 years old. That was not fair to him. I said that all season long. You got to go out and get some dudes so that this offense isn't completely hinging on a 35-year-old tight end, because Travis Kelce would be 35 years old next year. And yeah, Rashid Rice is good, but you got to get him some help. You guys get the point that I'm making here. You have to get some wide receiver help, because this offense was far too pathetic too many times last season. A Patrick Mahomes-led offense should never look as bad as this one did in 2023, and a lot of that can be blamed on the wide receiver play. So without further ado, let's get into 4 free agent wide receivers that the Kansas City Chiefs could potentially sign this offseason. So the first guy that I have on my list, this is going to be more of a high-end option. So let's just say, I don't know, the Kansas City Chiefs tag and trade L'Jarius Sneed, but they keep Chris Jones, and they have a little bit of extra spending money on wide receiver. I could see them going out and getting a high-end free agent, even though I don't really think they need one. I've said that for a while now. Yes, you're going to have to add some talent into this wide receiver room. They badly need an injection of talent, but at the same time, looking at what we just won the Super Bowl with, you don't have to break the bank. You just need a couple solid vets and then a guy in the draft, as I said earlier. But a high-end guy that the Chiefs could look to sign this offseason is, of course, Jaguars wide receiver Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley caught 76 passes for over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2023. It was his first year back from suspension and since being traded from the Atlanta Falcons. And he had a pretty good year. I mean, if you guys have ever watched him play, he's got pretty good speed. He's got pretty good size. He runs good routes. Calvin Ridley gives you a guy that I think could be a true number 1 wide receiver in this offense. And Ridley actually would be a perfect fit next to Rashid Rice because he played over 80% of his snaps at outside receiver. He played very little in the slot, meaning that Rashid Rice could just stay in the slot where he was naturally very good this year. And that would give you a very, very good duo on the outside and in the slot with Ridley and Rice. And then I don't really think you'd need to make any other free agent additions. You could sign like a very low-end veteran free agent or whoever. But then you'd really just need to get somebody in the draft, and I think you'd be set. Calvin Ridley provides a guy that is, going to draw attention from defenses, finally make Travis Kelce's life a little bit easier again, which I think is very important when considering the free agent options out there. That said, Calvin Ridley is already 29 years old, and he's an older free agent. And he's looking, or his market value on SpotTrack is $17 million per year. So it really just depends on whether or not the Chiefs want to spend that kind of money on a free agent wide receiver. But I think if you're going to get a high-end guy, Calvin Ridley would be the better fit for this Chiefs team. It's not like he's super old yet. It just is something to consider that he's probably going to be, almost 30 years old by the time the season starts. He's probably looking to get a multi-year deal, but this would be better than like a Mike Evans, in my opinion, because Mike Evans' projected market value is around $23 million per year, and I think he wants multiple years, and he's already on the wrong side of 30. I don't think that one would be as smart, even though I think Mike Evans would be a great fit in Kansas City. Calvin Ridley is the more realistic option if the Chiefs are going to go out and get a higher-end guy, so that's why I have Calvin Ridley as the number one guy on my list. All right, so the next guy that I have on my list as a potential free agent wide receiver the Chiefs could sign is Washington Commanders wide receiver Curtis Samuel. This was a guy that I really wanted to see us sign a couple of years ago when he was a free agent coming from the Carolina Panthers. Instead, he goes to Washington. Last year, he had just over 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. Nothing special, but again, this is a guy that raises the floor of the wide receiver room, a very solid veteran. And I also think something you have to consider with him being in Washington the last few years, their quarterback situation has been a disaster. That team has been a disaster. I think if Curtis Samuel came to Kansas City to play with Patrick Mahomes, you could see his numbers go up in a big way. Again, love how shifty he is. I love what he could do maybe as a potential Z receiver, so you wouldn't be taking away from Rashid Rice in the slot at all. Curtis Samuel could do more of what the Chiefs plan for Kadarius Toney, and he has that ability because he's pretty good in yards after the catch. At least I love his athletic upside in that regard. So Curtis Samuel's an ideal fit for me for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think he'll cost too much. His projected market value on SpotTrack right now is $11.5 million per year. If MVS was making about that money for the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't see why you couldn't give that to Curtis Samuel, who is probably the much better player at this point, and still only 27 years old, so he's not quite nearing 30 years old yet. I think Curtis Samuel would be a really solid veteran addition. Moving on to the third guy on my list, I really like Marquise Brown, the free agent wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. And I get it. Marquise Brown is one of those guys that you'd hate to see the Chiefs overpay for. He just kind of screams, quality free agent that's going to get more money than he deserves. His projected market value right now is $14.8 million a year. It's a little bit rich, however. Look, I think Marquise Brown solves a lot of problems for this Chiefs offense. He's caught over 300 passes for 3,644 receiving yards, and he has 28 career touchdowns. And what I love most about him is that he brings the deep ball back to the offense. The Kansas City Chiefs desperately missed the deep ball in 2023. It wasn't a part of their offensive arsenal. They didn't go deep on teams really much at all. The only times they did are when MVS was able to get free, and even when he did get free, he only caught the ball half the time. So I think Marquise Brown, again, solves a lot of problems for the Chiefs offense, and he's part of that mold that I think this team has been trying to break away from, but still kind of desperately misses, even though they pretend not to, and that's the smaller, shiftier, fast guy like a Tyreek Hill. That is what Marquise Brown is. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a small, shifty, fast guy, and the Chiefs kind of missed that, as much as they'll probably tell you they didn't. And Marquise Brown is only 26 years old. He's still extremely young. I still think he could have a really good year in this league playing with Patrick Mahomes, even though it hasn't truly happened for him yet. He's had some decent seasons. He had 1,000 yards for the Baltimore Ravens a few years ago, but they traded him after things didn't work out there. But I would definitely like to see Marquise Brown come to Kansas City for the right value. Last but not least, a free agent wide receiver that I think would fit seamlessly in Kansas City is Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd. And yes, it would be nice to steal something from the Bengals and kind of shove it in their face because their fans are very annoying, and it would be cool to see Kansas City pick up one of their beloved wide receivers. But also, he just makes a lot of sense. I saw on SpotTrack.com his projected market value is only $8.7 million per year. If that's all it takes for Tyler Boyd, sign me up. The guy is the definition of solid. I mean, you look at his stats over the last several years. This past year for Cincinnati, he had 600 receiving yards. Of course, he got injured the year before that, so it was a down year. But then in 2018, he had 1,000 yards. In 2019, he had 1,000 yards. 2020, he had 841. He has a track record of proven production, which is exactly what you need in this Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room. Yes, he does collide with Rashid Rice a little bit in the slot, but he has the hands, the frame, and the physicality, I think, to play some boundary receiver. And I believe him and Rashid Rice could coexist. We talk about a guy that can raise the floor of the wide receiver room and just give you somebody where you know what you're going to get out of them. Tyler Boyd is not a world beater. He's not a superstar, but he is a solid wide receiver. He's an experienced veteran, 29 years old, so I still think he has a few really good years left in him. I think you could sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, and you could ride it out with him for a couple of years as your veteran in the wide receiver room. I would love this, and I think this one, when you consider how much he would actually cost, would be the best value of anybody on this list for Kansas City. So yeah, guys, there you have it. Those are 4 free agent wide receivers that I would like to see the Kansas City Chiefs target this offseason in free agency. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you agree, disagree with me on any of these? Do you have anyone that I didn't mention in this video that you would like to see them go after? Let me know in the comments down below. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. I'll see you in the next one. Go Chiefs!